A lot of fun trying to figure out exactly how this Steelers quarterback competition is going to play out. Russell Wilson seems to still have that pole position. Hadn't been able to do as much, though, of course, with the calf injury. And then Justin Fields struggled with some fumbles in the preseason action we've seen so far. For more, let's make sense of this whole thing with Brooke Pryor, our Steelers reporter. What's been going on there, Brooke? What's the latest under center in Pittsburgh?
Well, Laura, the latest is that Russell Wilson is going to make his preseason debut in Week 2. That's this Saturday against the Buffalo Bills. Mike Tomlin said that Russell Wilson will, quote, be a participant as long as there are no setbacks. And so I followed up and I said, does that mean that Russell Wilson's going to start? And he said, yes, Russell Wilson will start. I also asked about Justin Fields and how much he expected Justin Fields to play. And he said, that much is not etched in stone, but he said he expects the first team offense to play about 4 series. He said that in the last game they were playing about 2 series, and they ended up going, I think Justin Fields played 3 series. So this is still very much Russell Wilson's job, but he's going to get an opportunity now to finally get out on the field in a game-like situation. I asked him also a couple days ago, Russ, what's the concern about playing with this calf injury? How do you get out there and kind of knock some of the rust off in terms of being in a game while also making sure that you don't aggravate that calf injury? And he said, I do not play with fear. I am not a fearful player.
Okay. I mean, I'm going to maybe adopt that in my life. Thanks to Brooke for the latest there from Pittsburgh. No matter who wins the job between Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, there's a good chance they're going to be an upgrade over the Steelers quarterbacks from last year. Pittsburgh started 3 quarterbacks who combined for just 13 touchdown passes. That's the fewest by any playoff team since 2010. Only the Jets passed for fewer touchdowns last season. And as I said, I mean, the Steelers still made it to the postseason. Damien, what do you want to see from Russell Wilson in his first live action with the Steelers offense? He says he does not play with fear. What do you be looking out for?
Yeah, Laura, I'm going to look first and foremost how he moves inside and outside the pocket. You know, you're dealing with this calf injury. I want to see how he moves around. That's been one area we've been talking about with Russell Wilson, his, dwindling athletic ability. So I just really want to see how he's maneuvering in the pocket. Also, I want to see him pushing the ball down the field. Russell Wilson has been, throughout his career, one of the best deep ball throwers we have in the National Football League. We know Arthur Smith, he loves the run game, he loves play action. Well, Russell Wilson is, over his career has been one of the better play action pass quarterbacks that we have. So I'd like to see what that looks like in this Pittsburgh uniform.
Similar, Laura, I want to see short area quickness and footwork, which is always an indice of an aging quarterback. And then can he get the ball down the field, especially to his left, down outside the numbers, which is the harder throw for a right-handed quarterback. With that said, we got to give Russell Wilson a ton of credit from this standpoint. He's turning 36 in November, and he's making the exact same $39 million if he played this year or if he didn't. So clearly he loves football. Now, if I'm the Steelers, if it's close, I would go with Justin Fields because he's 10 years younger. And we have to remember that neither Fields nor Wilson has a contract for next year. So at some point, once they anoint a starter, I would think Pittsburgh would try to quickly get an extension done so their starting quarterback isn't a pending free agent.
Yeah, it's a really fascinating audition of sorts for both of these quarterbacks looking to continue on in their careers. Justin Fields, to Mike's point, much younger. I mean, a quarterback, though, not the only competition in Pittsburgh you have your eye on. What more can you tell us there?
Yeah, I'm really interested in seeing what the starting offensive line is and how that changes over the course of the game. Justin Fields' first start, on each drive, they kept changing the lineup. They started with Dan Moore Jr., who was left tackle last year. At left tackle, Broderick Jones on the right side. Then they swapped it. Third drive, they replaced Nate Herbig, his brother's on the team, with Zach Frazier at center. I think the Steelers' offensive line has the potential to be extremely good at blocking the run in particular. You've got guys who can pull. You've got nasty physical downhill blockers. Their tight ends can block too. Darnell Washington's basically a 6 offensive lineman out there. So if they can settle on the right starting lineup and I think integrate those young players sooner rather than later, that to me is what the strength of this team is. It's that run game. regardless of who's playing quarterback.
It's particularly important, too, with those quarterbacks, Mina, as we've pointed out, because Wilson and Fields had the 2 longest time to throw by average last year. The O-line could have their work cut out for them. Chiefs are hoping to get healthier by then, okay? On offense, especially Hollywood Brown, Jawan Taylor, they're both dealing with some injuries. And part of the strength of this team looking for a three-peat had been the depth we anticipated. Here's more from Patrick Mahomes.
Obviously unfortunate. I guess we're lucky that it wasn't as bad as it could have been. I know he's in good spirits. He's doing well. So just kind of getting him back going again, back moving around. Obviously, we lose a little bit of that veteran type receiver in that room. I mean, we have other guys that can kind of replace it a little bit, but to have that much talent, have a good understanding of what I want. But he's in the room. I think that's what's awesome. He's talking to those guys and everything like that. And so hopefully we're getting him back sooner rather than later. But we just got to keep pushing those young guys to keep getting better and better every day.
As far as the play time goes, the ones will take a half, and then we'll kind of fill in after that and just see how the rest of that goes for the third and fourth quarters.
Interesting looking at what we can expect for this next preseason game. The ones playing for a half, it sounded like he said there. Now, everyone remembers Patrick Mahomes running for his life during his lone Super Bowl loss to the Bucs. That has not been the case during the Chiefs' back-to-back title run. KC has used only 6 starting O-line combinations in the last 2 seasons combined. That's the 3rd fewest over that span. The Chiefs have ranked 1st in pass block win rate both those seasons. So it's still early, but the injuries mounting in Kansas City. The O-line continues to be a question mark heading into this season. Damien, how concerned are you about this Chiefs O-line?
It's really the only concern you have as it relates to the Kansas City Chiefs as a whole is their offensive tackles. And when you talk about why they've been so good in pass blocking, it's really the interior of their offensive line. They got stalwarts at all 3 positions in the interior line. But both tackle positions has been over the past 2 or 3 years has been an issue for the Kansas City Chiefs. Now I know the former offensive lineman in Andy Reid, he'll get it all figured out. And obviously when you have a quarterback in Patrick Mahomes that can kind of finagle things, but that situation, the tackle situation, bears watching because little things like that can derail you in critical situations. So definitely got to watch the off of the tackle situation.
Yeah, Laura, I don't know what GM in their right mind would go out and spend a lot of money in free agency on questionable aging offensive linemen. I mean, that's crazy to me. So anyway, I digress. But in all seriousness, I do agree. Like, it's amazing. The definition of greatness is to make those around you better. And you go back a year ago, their tackle play was average at best. They led the league in penalties. Jawan Taylor's already hurt. Hopefully he'll be okay. And at left tackle, is it going to be Kingsley Suamataia start? Donovan Smith still out there? I mean, if it was any other team, we would be talking about an urgency, especially at the left tackle position. But it just goes to the greatness of Patrick Mahomes and the play calling of Andy Reid that they may be able to get away with it again. But I agree with D. Wood, which is going into the season, it's a massive concern to think that through 17 games that they can hold up at both tackle positions.
Some breaking news now out of Atlanta, where Adam Schefter is reporting that the Falcons are signing former Pro Bowl safety Justin Simmons to a 1-year, $8 million deal. This news on the heels of a big trade out of Atlanta yesterday, with Matthew Judon was trading to the Falcons for a 3rd-round pick, as reported also by Adam Schefter. So Atlanta has been looking to fill the void on their roster. Got a great one in Judon, a Pro Bowler. We'll also address this Justin Simmons news. Looks like the Falcons are stacking up this defense. And look, the Falcons desperately needed to address their pass rush. Over the last 5 seasons, Atlanta ranks last in virtually every pass rushing category, including sacks and pressure rate. Judon has the 4th highest pressure rate by any defender over that same span. D-Wood, both of these moves probably make you feel really good about this Falcons defense right now. What would you say about Simmons getting signed to the 1-year deal, and then also Matthew Judon joining this pass rush?
Yeah, we always talk about how rush and coverage, they complement one another. So you really hit on two aspects of the defense when you bring in Matthew Judon, who's been, I know he was hurt last year, but over the past couple of years, been one of the more productive rushers in the National Football League. And we, through that graphic you saw, Atlanta Falcons just really struggle putting pressure on the quarterback and getting after the quarterback. So that takes care of one aspect of their defense. And then Justin Simmons, has always been a ball hawk type of safety, and you pair him up with Jesse Bates III, man. Like, you talking about interchangeable type of safeties that are rangy, that can go out there and really cover a lot of people, cover a lot of ground. So if you're the Atlanta Falcons, boy, like, this Atlanta Falcons team is going to really factor in the NFC picture. You know, we haven't even talked about the offensive side of the football.
Yeah, Mina, a lot of people, maybe Falcons fans mostly, were upset that they didn't go the pass rush route in the draft. But now it feels like they're making the most of this, getting other players in there to hopefully fill some of those voids. What's your take on Simmons specifically?
Yeah, the Falcons are aiming to win the division correctly. They should be aiming to win the division, not just because the NFC South is very winnable, but because I think this is going to be a very good offense with Kirk Cousins. My questions were almost entirely, aside from Cousins' health, around the defense, and those questions, in part, were answered a bit today. You can talk about the wisdom of signing these players to one-year deals beyond next year. It looks like Matthew Judon is going to be more of a rental for them. But as far as this season goes, I absolutely love it, Laura. Damien mentioned what a scary safety duo now this is with Simmons and Jesse Bates, who was absolutely fantastic this year. This Falcons defense last year played a ton of man coverage under the previous defensive coordinator, Ryan Nielsen. And in Bates and Terrell, they had the pieces to do that, but they didn't really have the pass rush. Now, hopefully, they do with Judon, and in doing so, you're going to have opportunities for Simmons to get his hands on the football. I really like how these players fit into the defense we saw last year, and if they can build on that, really all they have to do is be average, I think, for this team to win the division.
Yeah, it's interesting you guys mentioned Jesse Bates. I did a Falcons game last year, and when we spoke to Jesse Bates, he talked about already the mentality of that defense being one that he really admired. He was the leader at that time. I'm sure a lot of that continues, but adding a veteran across from him like Simmons makes that a whole lot better. Let's hear from Raheem Morris, specifically on Matthew Judon and what he thought when he found out he was added.
I hate to say it long term, we're talking about a 31-year-old player just in general, but when you get a guy the way we were able to acquire him, that's always fun. You get a guy with the ability to come in here and be a game wrecker for you right now, you figure out those things.
All right, so he's excited, but Mike, no new contract agreed to before the trade was finalized from the GM standpoint. You agree with that plan?
Not at all. I don't like it, Laura. They could easily have had two negotiations going on saying to New England, hey, we have an agreement in principle. We want 24 hours to have Matthew Judon come on in, take a physical, and then negotiate the contract, something I did when I was a GM and many other teams do. You now give Matthew Judon a ton of leverage. They've given up a third-round pick. He and his agent know that, so unnecessarily they don't have leverage trying to get an extension. I think it was a really good move. It was a massive need, as Mina and D would alluded to. But to me, Laura, they could have handled both at the same time and gotten a better result, not only on the trade, but hopefully a realistic extension so he could be there for a number of years.
Yeah, we'll have to keep an eye on exactly how all of that shakes out. Good points, Mike T, and everybody here. Either way, the Falcons got better today.